you.
Good evening. I call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Hampden Selectboard and Board of Health being held in the Townhouse Auditorium, February 3rd, 2025, 6:01 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person and remotely using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is anyone recording the meeting other than ourselves? Kristen from the Wilbraham Hampden Times is.
It's like Kristen Rivers.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
First item on the agenda, we have minutes from the 12/5/2024 meeting. This is the first meeting we had regarding the municipal buildings. And we'll be meeting again tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the same subject.
Motion to approve. Don, you have to.
Oh, well, you weren't there. Second. All in favor? Aye. Jeez. All right, okay. Thank you. The next item is the assessors regarding local options for veteran property tax exemptions.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Again. Back again. Yes, so tonight I asked to speak with the select board just to provide some information on a couple of local options that are available for veteran property exemptions. We started looking at this a little because the HERO Act was recently passed last August to help expand on some veteran benefits. And included in that were some options for local options for the property tax exemptions. So I was speaking to our Veteran Service Officer, Jason, and he put in a request with our office to look into the clauses available, as well as a couple of others that we do not have currently. So we're bringing a few of them here to you tonight. So the first that we'll start with is Clause 22G. So if this were to be adopted at a town meeting, this clause would allow real estate that is the domicile of a person but is owned by a trustee, conservator, or other fiduciary for the benefit of a person eligible currently through clauses 22 and clauses 22A through F. So basically, this helps veterans if a property is in a trust currently. This gives them the exception of retaining a legal interest, so they can have a beneficiary interest without the legal ownership interest. So this is a local option that can be added to help some veterans that may currently not be able to meet that criteria.
So what does it do tax-wise?
Right.
So with it, it's impossible to predict on this because I don't know of any currently that are in this situation. So this is just helping if there are any veterans that, that are in this situation that are currently not able to get it. I got some numbers from Jason as far as how many veterans he has listed in Hampden getting benefits from the VA in comparison to how many are receiving property tax exemption benefits. So, so there are quite a few more. So I'm not sure how many of them just do not own property in town at all, or if there's some that are in this specific situation.
Is there a, what I want to say, a monetary cap, or
Income level?
an income level? Is it an income level thing?
No, so it's not income based for the veteran exemptions.
Okay, right.
It's a veteran.
Okay.
So
I'm trying to get a sense. I think Don was saying, what's the point of this? So you're a veteran and you live at this place, but it's owned by somebody else.
So right now, so currently, there are situations with a trust, but the veteran has to be listed as a trustee and have a beneficiary interest. So this would allow them to not be listed as the trustee, but still have a beneficiary interest in the property.
But I'm trying, I don't understand. Is the veteran paying the property tax, or is the trust paying the property tax.
Well, it would be the trust, but if the veteran who lives there meets the other criteria based on receiving a disability rating, you know, of 10% or higher, which allows them to get a real estate exemption, and they meet the others, you know.
So this is an enhancement basically to 22 through 22F.
Exactly, it's not.
So out of
adding
context,
anything in
that's a little out of
addition.
context, I'm saying.
It
Okay,
is, but
right.
that's why it's hard to place a specific amount on it, because, you know, I'm not sure how many
What they
veterans could.
fall into, which other section they fall under.
Right.
Most are, I mean, most veterans currently that have a trust, they are listed as a trustee. I don't know of any specific that have come in asking for this, that we've had to turn them away.
So this is
But
an
it's
expand.
possible that there's a few out there.
So chapter 22 is all about this, and this is an expansion of some other options.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense, all right, thank you.
All right, go ahead.
But life estates are not part.
It would not affect life estates, that's
It
correct.
doesn't affect that.
Yeah,
Oh,
because with a life estate, they have to be the life estate holder. They cannot be a remainderman with future interest. So I clarified that with the state, does not change anything for that purpose.
okay.
So that's the first one that he had asked us to look into. The second is clause 22H, which is for Gold Star families. So currently, we have a clause 22D, which is for a surviving spouse of a veteran. This would be for a full tax exemption for surviving parents or guardians of soldiers and sailors, members of the National Guard, and veterans who passed during their time in active duty service or suffered an injury or illness as a proximate cause due to their time in active duty. The difference is the clause 22D, the state reimburses the town 100%. This is a local option where the town would get no reimbursement. So that's the
But
difference.
this has nothing to do with that child that was in service and perhaps, you know, suffered a catastrophic death. Doesn't have to be living with the parents or anything like that.
No, no.
So parents reside in Hampden. They moved out 25 years ago. They've been serving, and through some action, they passed away or had a, you know, missing in action. And the parents who are in
Yeah.
Hampden would get an exemption.
Yeah, I actually do have that one right there.
5 years.
The 5 years.
Yep. It's not,
Yes,
So,
I've lived in town 5 years.
yeah, the surviving parents or
Before that,
guardians must have been
Before that.
domiciled in the Commonwealth for the 5 consecutive years immediately before the date of filing.
But not to get too, I just don't see the, I don't know, relevance done, or I guess I'm just,
So again, these are just local options. We
Right,
just
yeah.
wanted to make you aware of them because we were
Okay.
asked to take a look. This
No,
spec-
C is for spouses, right?
D,
Huh?
D, yeah, the clause 22D.
D is for spouses. So the spouse, so an officer, a service member dies in active duty, and his spouse can get the exemption. This is for parents or guardians.
Correct, yes. Or due to an injury sustained or an illness
Yeah,
from their.
proximate
yeah.
cause, yeah, yeah.
right, because it makes sense that the other ones reflect, there's a tremendous loss of income as well, so that's why the state's doing a tax benefit.
For the spouse.
Right, it's not, I just don't see where this one, it's a nice thing,
And again,
no.
I do not know of any specific families in Hampden that have this situation. It doesn't mean that there may not be one or two.
Right, right.
So something that we wanted to bring to you. And then, so the other clause was 22J. So this is one of the new clauses that was recently added due to the HERO Act. So under this clause, if it were to be adopted, it would increase the current exemption amounts that veterans receive by a certain percentage up to 100%.
What's the current exemption?
So right now, well, we have the 22 and A through F. What we currently have now are the clause 22, which is a veteran that has a 10% disability rating or higher, they receive a $400 annual exemption. And then we have the 22E, which is for 100% disabled, and that's a $1,000 annual exemption. And then we have a couple of the 22Ds, which we get reimbursed for in full. And with the exemptions that are currently granted under the 22 and the 22E, we receive a portion of that back from the state, all but $175 per exemption. So adding any additional percentage on under the clause 22J, there would be no additional state reimbursement for that.
Or H or G? I'm reading it?
Correct, yes, yes, so 22G isn't really, that's just kind of
Yeah.
changing things for the trust.
So these local
The other
options,
two.
from what I'm reading here, there is no increase in state reimbursement.
Yes,
It's all
correct,
on the ownership of the town.
which is why they're local options, yeah.
Not to get into it, and maybe a privacy thing, do we have any Js that would be affected by this? You know, I'm sorry, those that have the other two exemptions, do we have some of those?
That would,
That qualify under the, well, you said what was it, $100 or
the
$400 or
400 and the
1,000?
1,000. So yes, so if the 22J was passed at town meeting, all of those veterans receiving the amounts currently would get whatever percentage.
We have some of those, I'm asking.
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
We
So,
have 72,
yeah,
7?
well, not 72,
well,
I'm sorry,
3 of those are 22Ds, yeah.
69.
This is based on the FY '24 exemption totals, because we're still in the process of collecting exemptions for FY '25. So based on the fiscal '24 totals, yes, we had 69 veterans
That qualify for either 10% disability or up to the
Yes.
100%.
that own property. Now, when I spoke to our veteran service officer, just to see if, because I wanted to see if there were other veterans in town that might not be receiving the current benefits. And he has 112 veterans currently receiving benefits through the VA. 69 of them are receiving a property tax exemption.
So the others are getting benefits, but maybe it's not qualifying for.
Exactly, because they may just not own the property. So there is another option under the HERO Act as well, which is the 22I. So with that, instead of increasing it to a specific amount, it would be applying an annual cost of living adjustment, which is determined by the Department of Revenue each year. So that's another option as well. With that, you have to see each year. I know their FY '25 adjustment was 3.4%. So depends on how it goes. Some years it's obviously much higher than others. As you accrue that, that will stay with it forever, so it'll continue to grow.
So these
The amount
are,
of money we're talking about,
yeah,
bottom line,
right, so
is
69 up to,
just shy of $41,000 for 22J.
right, if you took the 69 people up to the 100%, you have a tremendous
Right,
impact. yeah.
40,800 to be.
That's if they were 100%, right?
100%, yeah.
Are these approved at?
That's if the town goes 100%,
Yeah.
not if their benefit is 100%.
Yeah, but
yeah.
the town goes
Right,
100%.
yeah.
Are these adopted at town meeting, or these,
Yes.
they do need?
Yeah, it would have to be accepted at town meeting
Individually, or is it a?
individually, yeah.
Are you
Well-
recommending them, or are you just bringing them to our notice?
So after speaking to the veteran service officer, the board had a chance to discuss it, and we're in support of bringing it to the selectmen to see if you'd like to bring it to town meeting. We looked over the figures, just to give you an idea. So for, like Phil said, for a 100% increase, the total amount the town would be covering is $40,800, based on the current figures. That would be about $16.76 a year for the average taxpayer. A 75% increase would be about $12.57. 50% would be about $8.38. And a 25% increase would be about $4.19. Just to give you an idea of how it would affect the average single-family taxpayer that owns a $419,000 home.
Not to say that we have to do what everybody else does, but you go to the state meetings, and how is this being received in other communities?
I know, so FY '26 is when these can go into effect for the 22I and the 22J. I do know of other communities that are putting it on their warrants for town meeting, just to bring it to the taxpayers and see what
Okay,
they'd
for
like
a
to do.
bigger discussion.
Exactly, yeah. But when it is brought, I did get some wording on on it. I asked if it would be two separate motions, one to adopt it and one to determine the percentage, but that portion is actually done in one. So you want to have a certain percentage suggested.
Oh, so once you set the percentage, you're done with it? This isn't like the annual brought up again
Yeah,
at the,
it would be like a one-time increase.
and to change it later will require town meeting action if you want to.
Yes, to
modify
change
it.
the percentage, yes. So if you started off at a lower percent, wanted to bring it to 100, could always bring it back.
What's the current percentage again, you said?
Well, it's some dollar amounts now.
Yeah, currently.
What's the current dollar amount?
The dollar amounts, yeah, it's 400
Yeah,
and 1,000 for 100 disabled vet.
And if we go to 100%, the state is only gonna still reimburse us $175?
So no, right now, the current amounts, they reimburse us all but 175.
Oh, all but 100.
Yeah, so right now they give us $225 back on the $400 exemption and $825 back on the $1,000. So they would continue to do that. We would cover the 175 plus the additional amount.
They would give us the reimbursement.
the current reimbursement,
The current,
the current.
So there'll be no
Current-
additional
the current,
reimbursement?
that
Right, nothing
doesn't
extra.
change.
nothing extra.
Current
Yeah,
reimbursement wouldn't
the
change.
same that we're currently receiving.
So if they're giving us $400, I'm not too bright. If they give us $400, that's all they're gonna give us, even if the tax
No.
exemptions.
No, they only give us 225, and even if the exemption goes up, they're still getting 225.
Yes, on the
Right,
$400 exemption.
Right,
Yeah.
because both of them get 175 taken off of that.
So if 400 went to 800, we'd still be receiving 225 back.
And if it went to 1,000,
If the 1,000 went to 2,000, yep, then we're getting, what, 825 back.
Well, the 2,000 would be, that's a pretty low tax. I mean, when you said the average tax bill in town is something,
Yeah,
there aren't too
6,000.
many tax bills at 2,000, I would imagine.
Not many,
Right,
no.
so that's why you came up with your
so
$40,000 hit.
if my tax bill is 5,000 or 6,000, and I apply for this, we would get $825 from the state.
Right, if you're 100%.
If you had a
yes.
100%.
If that has 100%
Yes.
disability or whatever, right? Okay. And then the town would be paying the $49.75.
Do we
59.
pay it or take it out overlay or just?
Yes,
come
so it's
right?
all from the overlay account.
yeah.
Yes, which is why, we wanted to, that's why he asked the assessors to take a look at it, just to see what the impact would be on the overlay.
Uncollected debt at that point, basically. Huh, aren't you a ray of sunshine today? Thank you.
Well, just something that we wanted to, like I said, with the HERO Act, it's something that I planned to bring to you anyway, just to make you aware of those options, and Jason asked us to discuss those additional 22G and H.
Well, I mean,
just as
that's
a way of
Jason's job. We
enhancing.
expect him to do things like, he's advocating for his people, and he does a good job of it. I heard nothing but
Yeah.
good things about what he's doing, so. But,
So we have to decide whether we're gonna put it on the town meeting.
right,
Yes.
Put it on the warrant, yeah,
Warrant,
and at what percentage?
Okay.
but you're not asking for it, you're leaving it to us to decide to put it on.
I believe
Your recommendation?
we supported coming to you guys.
Okay.
It's not quite the same.
All right, then.
Because, I mean, you generally will submit warrant articles when you want things, and then this would, you're not submitting one per se, but if we choose to put it on, you'll help us with the language.
Well, I think anything going on the warrant needs to be approved by the select board
Technically,
anyway.
yeah,
so
but I mean,
it's more
either
just
it's-
trying to, kind of move it along and see if it's something that I'd like to consider putting on there.
How many articles are we thinking?
Well, so that would
1 through
depend
3?
on whether you were looking at just one for a potential increase on the current exemption amounts, or if you were looking to add either of those other options.
I think what John was saying, are you recommending individually 3 warrant articles, or do you want us to make that decision?
We recommended that we bring the 4 to you guys.
4.
Now, when we discussed them, first of all, I have to say that I get one of these. So I'm speaking as a veteran who receives one of the $400, so I have to put that out. We thought it was supporting the veterans. And I believe, if I'm reading right, and I have no facts, I believe cities have already accepted this, and most towns have it on the warrant that I'm aware of,
For discussion.
or are talking about putting it on the warrant. But Brian would know a lot more than I would about that.
I know there's some that have accepted it early, but it can go into effect for FY '26. Others are looking to put it on for this spring.
Okay.
We're talking about closing. Can we put it on the next meeting for discussion?
Yes.
Potential warrant articles.
Next meeting for potential warrant articles.
Maybe Brian would have more information about what other communities are doing. And if there's any inclination on the state's part to increase the reimbursement level, that would be a big
There's
factor.
not, no, that's a definite no.
Okay.
Yes.
They're not printing it on.
Unfortunately.
All right, all right, thank you. So
All right.
we'll discuss it. Thank you, Phil
Okay,
and Kelly,
you're
thank
welcome.
you.
Thanks.
We have the MVP update. Is this the MVP person?
There's indeed.
Yeah, okay. Your name, please? for the-
Chris Lyman
Okay.
from Howard Stein Hudson.
Hey, Chris.
Presentation, but he's perfect. Not used to the screen sharing this.
Want me to share it for you, Chris?
Yeah, if you don't mind, or I have a, I don't know what's easier.
Here, I can just hand you this if you want.
Magnanimously.
Okay. So much.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Go ahead.
Turn the lights down, or?
Eyes. There we go. You want to just,
Okay, you want me to take it?
yeah, you can.
Thank you. So I said, my name is Chris Lyman with Howard Stein Hudson. I am the lead civil engineer for the Main Street Bridge project, along with, I was the lead civil engineer on the MVP when we inspected all the culverts here in town. I was involved in inspecting all the culverts. Tonight I'm just coming to give you an update on the MVP project and the Main Street Bridge project. Let me switch through these. There we go. So for the agenda tonight, I'm just basically going to go through the bridge design status, the permitting status that was involved for the bridge design, the right-of-way status, the green infrastructure design status, and then the community outreach videos that we're working on. And then the next steps we have to wrap up this fiscal year's MVP grant. So for the bridge design, we received back our Mass DOT Chapter 85 review comments. We received those back in the fall, I believe in November. We had a meeting with the Mass DOT bridge section because they had a few comments regarding our design. They had released a new bridge design guide in the fall, and we had submitted these plans obviously in the spring of 2024, and they come out with a new design guide in the fall of 2024. And some of the comments they'd given were in result to that new bridge design guide. We felt with the town that our design met the standards at the time when we submitted it, and that we shouldn't be held to the newer standards that had just come out, because it would potentially increase the cost of the bridge on the town. It's not a common Mass DOT thing to hold designers and towns to new design guides that come out at final design, because the bridge is at final design. So basically, we're working with Mass DOT to resolve those comments and to just make sure we don't have to do one thing. They want potentially one new boring at the location, because right now they require a minimum of, I think, of 3 borings on bridges. We only did 2, because that was what the old design guide required. And also the wing walls, which is basically the scour protection to make sure it doesn't erode the bank. They require larger wing walls now on bridges. But that potentially could increase the cost. Also, making the wing walls bigger could potentially require a bigger foundation of the bridge, which again would increase the cost of the town. Talking with our bridge engineer, he doesn't see at all why they would be required for a bridge of this size at all. These bridge design guides go across the board for massive bridges that you'd see, and a smaller bridge like this. If this was a much larger bridge, potentially those design standards would take into account. But for a small bridge like this, we don't see it being any reason, especially because it'd be an over design of what's currently there too, which is structurally sound as of right now, besides the bridge itself. But the wing walls themselves and the abutments are fine. So we proceed to be able to resolve those with Mass DOT on the scour boring comments. Our bridge engineer is working through each comment right now with them. Once we get our feedback from Mass DOT on those, we'll submit our revised 100% final design submission, which we anticipate to happen in May after talking with Mass DOT. And those bridge plans will be stamped bridge plans that'll be meant to go out to bid for this project. And then here's just like a look at the finalized bridge plans. I'm not sure if you guys have seen these yet, but these are what we submitted to the town last May. We also did all the bridge permitting through both the Army Corps of Engineers and here at the Conservation Commission of Hampden and the National Inherent Endangered Species Mass DOT Wildlife Sector. We got a notice of treaty and the endangered species reviewed in August 2024 and got our order of conditions from the town Conservation Commission in September. We recorded those notice of intent this past November and added the fish and wildlife language they had given us through their review to the construction documents. Basically, it's just a spec because there's a few endangered species in and around the brook, and we just added some language to include a wildlife scientist to be at least payable, so if they run into any of these endangered species, they can be either removed safely, or designed around, put like a protection for them. We also got our approval from the Mass Historical Commission because, we are surrounded by some of the historical house that's right next to the bridge. We got approval from the Mass Historical Commission, and we also got approval from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers because there is some dredging we're doing for this to be able to put in the abutments of the bridge. And then once we get our Chapter 85 permitting resolution from Mass DOT, the bridge permitting should be all done from that standpoint. We also required some right-of-way for this, for the bridge itself. Most of it's just for bank work to stabilize the bank in and around that house property that we're talking about because of how close the bridge is to that property. We've been coordinating with Mass Autobahn. They're very happy with the project and they're fine, having the takings, or the really easements happening for this project. We've submitted our preliminary right-of-way plans to them. And we've also contacted a right-of-way attorney who actually just did prepare the consensual order of takings agreement, which we now have in hand. We're reviewing it, sending back any comments we might have to the attorney. Once we have that order of takings agreement, we'll pass it on to the town to pass it as a warrant article at the annual town meeting in May, just to approve the actual permanent easement that's required for this project. And then we see to record at the Massachusetts Hampden County of Deeds, basically we register there in May or June once that is approved at town meeting. For the green infrastructure and preliminary design status.
Go back.
Yep.
Town to pass warrant article, annual town meeting in May 2020, authorizing board to execute a right-of-way.
Yep.
Are we gonna have that in that legal documents?
Yeah, you'll definitely have the legal, we have them in hand right now, we're just reviewing the draft, they should be in your hands pretty soon.
Okay, so that's a warrant article.
Yeah, it'll be a warrant article, yes. We'll have the language and everything written up by the attorney that we've been working with.
Go ahead.
Then we also have the green infrastructure and preliminary design status. So I just want to make a point that this design itself is not something that's going to be designed with the bridge. This is just a concept design that we're putting together, a preliminary design that the town can choose to design or not, but it is part of the MVP grant that we had to at least include a green infrastructure design with this. Again, it's up to the town whether they actually choose to fund to build this or not. Again, we've been working with the town and Mass Autobahn and Mark at the DPW to make sure that the design we're creating is both manageable and from a maintenance standpoint. There was concerns about it being hard to maintain. We've come up with a design where it's going to be mostly different types of grassland that can be easily mowed by Mass Autobahn, and then the stuff that's along the road can be easily mowed by the town. We originally had a green infrastructure
And
concept.
the purpose of that is, the purpose of that is flooding?
Yeah, it's for flooding, but it's also to treat the water going into both the brook itself, and that makes its way down to the Scantic. So it's really to help with water quality. The design itself, I think there is, if I go to the next slide, I can kind of talk through it.
Yeah.
So the design itself basically would take catch basins that go up Glendale Road and Scantic Road, which is the fork there, obviously. It would take the catch basins that currently run along there and divert them into that grass area where the aerial's pointing. There's a big grass area between the road and the parking lot. It would kind of make it somewhat look like what that little blob is at the top left. It's really just like a grassy area where the water can sit there, infiltrate, or can go into, we'll put into overflow controls. Basically means if the water gets too high, we're not flooding Mass Audubon property. It'll go into a control structure and go back into the brook, but at least it'll be treated from any oil or salts that come off the roadway itself. They're caught in those catch basins. We're working right now to finalize.
Those catch basins, if it's catching oil and salt, do they have to be cleaned out periodically? Or?
The current catch basins under your stormwater management plant do have to be cleaned out, I believe, bi-yearly, pretty sure. So that won't change anything with this, but the whole point of it is that.
Do they just vacuum them like they do?
They've been normally just use a vacuum truck and vacuum out the sediment bays. Some of the sediment bays along that road aren't as deep as required now by stormwater standards, but they were grandfathered in.
Yeah.
This would just be another way for basically the water to not go directly into the brook itself. We're trying to really have as much infiltration in that area up front there as possible, so that during normal rain events, there should be no water actually reaching the brook itself. It should be infiltrated within that area, and then during big rain events, we're hoping that some will be infiltrated, but then if not, any debris that gets set there won't be forced through the stormwater system, potentially, causing other backups downstream.
But that's separate from the bridge work.
Correct, yeah, so this is.
That's a different project, basically.
Yeah, it would be a different
Replacing.
project, and it's something that, the town can choose whether to, build or not. Whereas the bridge is something that will have final design plans where you guys can apply for grants for it, for getting the bridge design itself. So they would be two separate projects. So the cost we give you for the bridge is just for the bridge, it's not for this. This again would be a decision by the town whether they want to install this or not.
But the point of the MVP program was we had to have this conceptual idea.
Correct.
To be able to apply for those funds.
Correct, and in order to get the grant money from the MVP, you had to have some sort of green infrastructure or low impact design within, at least within the design itself. They can be separate.
Okay, and if the town chooses not to fund it, does that affect the funding that already was
No,
received?
so basically, you just need it in the grant in order to pay for the design of the bridge.
Okay.
So in order for MVP grant to pay for the design of the bridge, you had to have some sort of green infrastructure implementation. We separated them out, which you're allowed to do. Again, just because.
We could choose not to act on it.
Exactly. It won't impact you applying for state grants for bridge projects, if that makes sense. This is just for the design fee for the bridge itself.
Now, this part here, what you're talking about here.
Yep.
The drains that come down Glendale Road.
Yep.
And now would go into the infiltration basin, basically.
Yes.
Those drains typically go to the brook.
Yeah, they go straight into the brook.
So that would alleviate some of, you've been talking from the beginning that you're trying to, work on the flooding aspect of
Correct.
the bridge. So just this part here hopefully would mitigate some of the flooding part, right?
Correct, yeah. So the whole point is we're trying to collect as much water
Prior to it.
reaching the brook,
Right.
which is the whole point. Like, and this is the reason why we have this design here is because we also think this would be a good area where if people in the town saw this as how this would work, they could potentially, use it on their own private properties. People have gutters and stuff like that, where you get a lot of runoff from private properties that unfortunately end up into brooks and even into streets here in town, which then gets into your water, gets into your stormwater system. We're hoping this would be a way for people to see potentially a lower cost way of how you can, hold water on site before it actually makes it and hold and infiltrate it on your site instead of it making it to, a brook or a stream where it just swells during big storms.
Well, I have to say, this is part, not to get into, and you've got a bit more presentation
Yes.
to do. But if I was to separate the project, this is actually the part I could endorse.
Yep.
Because the original concept was you wanted to reduce the flooding potential at the bridge site.
Correct.
And I've said in the past, and I said this to Steve and Mary as well, you didn't sell me on the fact that the bridge needed to be replaced.
Okay.
There's a repair aspect, and you're replacing it as a function of getting more capacity underneath it.
Correct.
Basically.
Correct.
If you didn't need that capacity, there would be no onus on the town really to replace the bridge, but more just the repairs. Our highway superintendent said, DOT is not even telling us that the bridge needs to be replaced.
Correct. I will-
Except for more capacity for the brook coming down.
Yeah, it's not so much more capacity, it's actually the water level during high rain events. So the deeper the water gets, the higher the velocities get, which then causes more erosion of the banks, and the channel itself gets more in size, which is where you get like a brook or a stream where you slowly see it eroding away and property starts falling into the brook itself.
Right.
If during high stream events, if you make it wider and the depth of the stream is shallower during big events, those velocities go way down, which means
Right.
erosion goes way down. So it's not so much we're trying to pass more water into the bridge, we're trying to pass water into the bridge that's at a lower depth at a slower velocity.
But I wondered, and I said this before, if there was a solution that would not involve replacing the bridge.
Yes.
i.e., could there be an additional culvert brought in next to
Yep.
the current channel as well? Again, if you're suggesting this, which would take away the volume of water, which could be considerable,
Yep.
coming down Glendale, how much more capacity then do you need coming under the actual bridge structure itself? If you're taking off, during a flood event, the amount of water they're collecting on Glendale has got to be considerable, especially coming down that slope. Maybe if you're knocking off 25% of the flood water coming down, you don't need as much extra capacity, and that's just something I throw out there.
Yeah, and I know.
Because I look back to, you were talking, Don, $3 to $4 million to replace the bridge
Yes,
for this,
correct.
and big number.
It is a big number. I will say that you potentially have a better chance of getting state aid funded for the bridge than you would for, I know it's hard, but the amount of bridge projects I've done for
Oh,
towns.
no, but
yeah,
they're already doing 2 bridges for us in town.
Yes,
And I think that we come back with another one, they'd be like, don't you guys ever pay for anything yourself?
We'll try not to.
Exactly, yeah.
Well,
That's
yeah.
on page 1, right?
but I can tell you, I've worked the amount of towns I know towns that have 7 or 8 projects that are state funded all at one time. I've worked on, there's multiple towns that I work where I have 4 projects going on right now, all in design, they're all queued up year after year after year.
No.
It's really just always asking for the money.
No, it's great. I mean, if the state wanted to pay for the infiltration part there, that'd be terrific.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be hard, that might be a harder sell, just because the dollar amount might be lower. You might have to, again, you could potentially try to get an MVP grant for the design of it.
Right.
But that might be a harder process where you might be having to spend some of your own money again.
We don't like that. No, that's not, we don't do that.
That's what I'm saying.
I know.
So I'm just saying, there's 2 options you have here, and again, like, we can help you kind of try to weigh them again. Because, I mean, I do bridge and culvert designs all the time. I could say if you're talking about another culvert, the unfortunate part is with the way the mass stormwater and stream crossing standards are now, you're not gonna be able to put in a smaller structure there. Even if you were talking about like a 36-inch pipe, they're gonna require you to meet 1.2 the bank full width on any new structures, which we were basically required to do for this bridge anyways. So they don't really allow you to like double up anymore, if that makes sense. They're trying to keep it in one structure, because their big problem is debris that come into it. They're more worried about if you pay, so say if you paid for an undersized culvert, like a 36-inch pipe, chances of a tree, especially with all that mass Audubon property, trees falling into the brook and then piling up against that culvert, it would just flush it right downstream, which is, I know it's happened on Main Street before. Again, you can find ways to get those replaced in kind, but most likely like, the Mass DEP will require you to put in a structure that's 1.2 bank full width, no matter what you do. It's just, it's a standard they require. We couldn't meet it here. We got right at 1. We were right at 1 bank full width, but the reason why is because we were impacting historical properties and we're conservation land.
So when we're done here, and the
Yes.
work you've done for, my gosh, number of years.
Yes,
We're gonna have drawings and plans in hand
yes,
that we could go out to bid with right away.
correct, yeah, so you
Yeah.
could go right out to bid with them. They're gonna be stamped, and then you're gonna have all your specifications and add-in files where you could put them out right on and get bids in from contractors.
Okay, and your bill is being paid for by the grant.
Correct, yes, which is why we had to include this part too, because
Sure.
the only way we could get the grant for the town was including green infrastructure design. I can go back. real
And there's no note from the state's not coming, hey, we gave you that grant to get that done, we need you to get it done. They're not coming back?
No.
No, okay.
No, yeah, no, they're not, it's basically the MVP process, just because it's also different departments too. A lot of the grants you're gonna get is through state aid, which is gonna be Mass DOT money. This is through the MVP grant, it's really just about design. They do pay for projects,
All right,
but a lot of times for bridges, and specifically bridges, they'll have the town go for the state aid, because they have programs for bridge projects.
okay.
So with that, like I said, you will get a preliminary design for the green infrastructure by HSH as our deliverable. In May, we anticipate to submit at least for comment from the town in March, our green infrastructure design, to get comment both from, DPW and town administrator and obviously the select board on that design. And we hope to have that in March of 2025. We also put together the community outreach videos. So as part of this, this is our public outreach, which is another part of the MVP grant process that you have to have in your grant in order to get the funding for the design. Basically, we're gonna put together 3 videos. We've done all the recordings for these videos already. We did that in December and January. The first video will be about basically where the water is and where it comes from here in town, and how natural-based solutions in Hampden can potentially help with flooding scenarios here in Hampden. Video 2 will be grade infrastructure solutions, so it'll go through the potential solutions. In our previous, the first part of this MVP grant, we picked locations that could potentially install green infrastructure design that would help with flooding. We'll go over some of those sites in that video, and then there'll be a short video trailer that the town can use at meetings and events to help sell these to other residents here in town. I know, but it'll be part of it. The next part of this is we interviewed town staff and the town partners of the town of Hampden, including Mass Audubon and myself. We're in these videos. We're still getting some B-roll. We're trying to get some photos of big rain events. Obviously, it's unfortunate this fall and the winter we haven't had any big rain events when this recording was happening. But they're still trying to get B-roll of some sort of big precipitation event. And then they're working on the internal editing of the videos. We're hoping to have the final videos for public viewing and for town forum. We're gonna basically have like a event where they can go watch them.
Okay, ballpark date?
It definitely has to be done by May, so it'll be
Before the town meeting.
before the town meeting, correct, yeah. The next steps is just resolving the chapter 85 bridge review comments, which I think we're probably in a good spot there. Our bridge engineer at HSH has been working with Mass UT back and forth on these. Also, the town to pass the right-of-way warrant article that we'll give you the language for. And then finally, finalizing, executing the council order of takings and recording them at the registry of deeds. And then obviously completing the green infrastructure submission after we get comments and feedback from the town. And then completing the community outreach videos. And then, as I said, at the end of all this, you also get the finalized stamp bridge plans with the estimate and the spec that goes along with it. If there's anything that I'm gonna miss here, you're trying to get more information about any of the process we've done up to this point, we have updated the project website for, so you can go to this URL link, and it'll basically give you anything that we've submitted to the town, which include like the first MVP report is on there. We have some videos on there. We have some write-ups from some of the community outreach we've done. It's all up on the website.
Okay, my big question, John, did they ever find your pipe?
I haven't been told. I think the water's coming out of the brook, but we don't tell them.
We have a water main going down through that. In the
Yeah,
last meeting, you guys had no idea it was there.
Yeah, no.
After the bridge design, like, what about our water main? You have one? Like, it was a little discouraging.
Yeah, we only get water from the town itself, so we were never notified by the DPW that there was anything there. That's.
Yeah, but you took all the borings. I mean, the pipe is in the ground. I mean, it passes underneath the stream.
Yep. But so when we call DigSafe, if we call DigSafe, which obviously the town boards did, the town is responsible for their infrastructure. So somebody from DigSafe will mark out stuff like Verizon, electric, gas. But then a lot of times they'll also send out I know cities and towns do this, they'll send out for stormwater and water also. Because a lot of times the town is the only person who has plans on water systems.
Okay.
So and we after it came, we also asked for record plans of that. There wasn't any.
Yeah.
We know if anybody looks at that water main, because usually it's in the ground with a number 14, excuse me, wire, 10 gauge or something.
Yeah, so you can pick it up.
So it should be able to pick it up, but I don't know if anybody has.
I don't know if anybody have. It wasn't in our scope. I know we can write it into the contract to make sure that they do an SUE, an underground investigation, before anything major happens, which is where they basically first scan for it, and then they slowly dig down until they hit it. That's probably since there's no record plans of it, that's probably what's gonna have to happen anyways. Just because we asked for record plans of it, the surveyor didn't even know about it, our surveyor went out there, they didn't get anything, they didn't find anything of it either, there was no record plans, at least with the state, because they'll check with the state first, the state records, and there was nothing of it. So the only thing we can receive from then is
Hard to
from
believe,
town records.
hard to believe it was a DEP project. You would think they would have some records. You know,
You would think they,
yeah.
a lot of records get lost.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, any
No.
more other questions?
Oh, great.
No, good, thank you.
That website is going to be interesting, though. Perhaps make sure we get that link, so when we launch our new site,
Yep.
that's on there. If people have questions about it, I think, you know,
Yeah, it basically walks you through the entire from start to where we are now.
even though you haven't got all the B-roll.
Correct, yeah, the videos will be also posted on there too, once they get there, but it's really, even goes through like our initiating of like how we created like the MVP process, how we applied for it. All the inspection reports we have, full reports are on there. And then like any community events we did up to this point are on there also.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you, have a good evening.
Conservation Commission budget.
Bonnie?
Conservation Commission budget.
After your advisory already beat you up, right? I'm sure you won't.
Hi.
Hi.
What do you got?
You need money, huh?
What?
You want money for next year?
Not really.
Excellent. Knock down
next.
0 for
No more
conservation.
than last year.
Next?
We never got a copy.
Oh, you didn't? They still put in for a, that salary's for a 30-hour-a-week conservation agent, just in case it ever happens.
Okay. That's always been there, right? I mean, you keep,
They fund that last?
that's been in there in the past, right?
I get, what?
That's been in there in the past, right? I mean, you just keep pushing it forward, right?
Yeah,
What salary? I see the clerical up top, that's you, right? What are your hours per week?
I don't have set hours because I'm not a salaried employee. I just work by the hour, so I get 26, 66, something like that, an hour.
2633.
Right, and that comes up?
But I work whatever I need to work to get the job done for the week.
No, I understand that, but I mean,
does that
so it's,
cover-
where's that, does that come out of revolving fund, or is that paid out of the appropriation?
I believe, I don't know.
You have a green sheet, because I assume that you were paid out of 22-1, the clerical line.
Oh, all right.
And then the other line, which was gonna be the conservation agent, and that was the split of the 75, right, Don? Did that ever
Yeah.
happen?
What's the total,
Right.
what's the total there? What's the total on that sheet?
39,686.
Well, last year, we had, okay.
41, yeah.
Yeah, 41,233, Conservation Commission clerical, and we've expended 5,000, so they must be taking her salary out of that.
Right.
Yeah,
So this top line is you. Current grade in step 4/2,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
you.
I already went over that with Dick, yeah.
Okay.
So that's a 30-hour-a-week employee is not filled to
Right,
work at an average of 12 hours a week. So you put in a high budget potentially if an agent came along.
Right,
okay,
that's what I was told to do.
yeah.
No, I'd almost prefer like agent was listed separately, so, I mean, if you're expending an average of 12, we got a pretty good history of what the budget takes up for the clerical part on an annual basis. And gosh, I know you need an agent, badly.
It-
But I think from what Bob was saying, it was been pretty hard, even that full 40 would have been pretty hard to pay for our part of it.
Not a full-time agent.
If we can't split it with somebody, we're not gonna find somebody, right?
Yeah, the salary is too low.
I just think it's kind of misleading to keep that high on clerical, that's all. If we could rework it, so it was two different lines,
Yeah, we
Be more
have a clerical line.
clerical line than a conservation agent line, yeah.
Okay,
Because there's only, what, 2 lines right now?
yeah.
So add a third line.
Expenses, yeah,
Expended
which is right.
expenses, right.
Yeah, that's pretty standard right now. When you get that big new shiny office over, TWB. You want big, more expensive, you need painting, stuff like that, right? New
Chandelier.
desk.
Chandelier.
Yeah. Fish tank, fish. Here's your copy. If you could get a copy of this to Brian, it'd be great, though.
Hey,
Yeah,
Your biggest meeting this week,
it's a big one, yeah. I have the state coming.
yeah, what's that about? Just to change the subject.
Well, Mark Stinson, our circuit rider, has been wanting to come to a conservation meeting.
Oh,
I have all new members. He's never met any of them,
well, that's good.
all 3 of them.
Is that lady going to join who was there last meeting?
I haven't heard from her.
Oh,
We've been
okay.
texting, but that way, but we haven't heard neither I nor Tom Page, because he wanted her to go on the site
Yeah,
inspections.
okay.
So this week, we have the South Road Bridge, which it's a very simple project compared to
Yeah.
this one. We have that coming in, a notice of intent. We have a notice of intent on Lot 1 Wilbraham Road that is right before Nick Turnberg's logging project.
Yeah,
Oh, on the
It's right
east side,
before
on the
that.
east side? Okay.
And it's 35 acres that this fella bought and wants to put a home on.
Is that next to the town property?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. And then we have a request for determination on Stafford Road, he's putting in a couple of very large 40 by 40, 30 by 40 outbuildings. He's only owned the house since the fall, but he bought the land, there's 13 acres, he bought it to hunt on it. I don't know, there's houses, and that's not my problem.
And he wants these outbuildings for what?
He wants one of them to hold all of his ATVs and all of his stuff. But anyway, so he's coming in. And then we have a violation coming in. We have, yeah, and then just some,
Get some work.
where's the violation?
where?
Yeah,
South Ridge Estates.
oh, okay. The reason I'm asking is because we got this meeting with the school committee the same night.
Yeah.
So I'd like to.
Here?
No,
No,
it's town.
but I'd like to attend as a liaison by just,
Yeah, well, it'll be Zoom. We'll have all our meetings Zoom.
Oh, we could watch the recording
Yeah,
afterwards.
good,
Certainly can.
okay, good, all right, thanks.
Must-see TV, they call it.
All right, thanks, sure, you're gonna get that to Brian,
I will.
we're gonna change have clerical separate line item and.
So you must have now, you have 5 members now, right?
No.
No.
I have
Marilyn?
I have 3 working members, Tom Page, Greg D'Agostino, and this newer fella, Scott Thomas.
That's fine.
They do all of the site inspections and they show up, although they didn't show up last month because I had to cancel the meeting. And that's it. Wenda Luff, she came, she had great credentials, she'd been on Granby for 22 years. She's just never around. She travels, but like travels for a month here, 2 months.
But she's still technically your chairperson, right?
Yeah, but she's not. She is on paper.
Okay. Marilyn is a associate or?
She's an associate.
Right, okay. And Andrew's still an associate, right?
Yeah, Andrew is. We've only ever seen him once.
Yeah.
And he's busy, but yeah, Andrew's also an associate member. We really need more members. 3
Yeah,
isn't good.
you need an active chair,
I think I saw the memo, she was going to Florida and then coming back or something. for a
Oh,
few
yeah, and
months.
then going somewhere else for the summer.
Nice.
Okay, thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Quarterly financial update, how we doing? We still open?
What?
Giving Dick a hard time.
Oh,
Giving Dick in the account, right? Oh, you still open? We still open for business?
It
you close?
Yeah, I don't know what your expectation is for this quarterly financial update, so I don't have anything prepared. I don't know what you're looking for.
Any issues with the budget as we stand right now for the end of the year? Nothing alarming?
Now, you'll have these tomorrow in your mail. What you just do is take the expenditures and don't pay any attention to anything but the percentage on the right-hand side. Okay, so we are, 7 months into the fiscal year, so 7/12 of gives you the percentage. And anything down there that's over that, I'll look for an explanation. The only one that's really over was elections. And we've got the mandate money to cover that.
I see most of these salary lines all are consistent, like you said, they're all gonna be in that 70% range. Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
looked at them this afternoon, when I went down, there was nothing there that scared me.
That's good.
At this point in time, our revenues are not, our expenditures are greater than our revenues. But that's mostly timing stuff. It's
Sure.
when we pay the school and then we make a deposit, when the taxes all come in, that we get a boost now because motor vehicle excise is in the mail.
We have literally just finished our 60 days worth of cash flow of every single year. And we made it through without major issues, and money to spare.
Right.
And now it's just flooding in.
For
You know, I
the
mean,
February
over
1st, right?
2
yeah.
million today, so, it's,
Thank you, Don. That check.
So, yeah, this is the time when the revenues ramp up a little bit. And if I can make it to February 1st, I'm always pretty happy as far as cash flow goes. And, to Cliff's point, when you scan that column, the only thing that's unbalanced on those things are, and it's usually small dollar amounts, $5,000 software contract, we always pay it in July. That's gonna.
Right, like county retirement, it shows
Oh, yeah.
90% expended, but it should be, because you get the discount if you pay.
Any word on that, by the way?
No, all we've gotten is the apology letter for the delay. Apparently, they had to resubmit to Perrick.
No?
So, I mean, it is what it is. We took a little bit of a hit this week on employee benefits, about an extra 13,000 for a buyout.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we see a couple of accounts we want to monitor from our standpoint, not huge, utility accounts that we're concerned about, things like that, so.
And you were asking about it going forward, about employee benefits. Our health insurance rate setting will be next month.
All right,
We'll have a number there. I'm hope, the trust is in good shape.
might get
So I'm
a free
hoping
month, might get a free month maybe?
convince the other members to keep it as close to zero as possible.
Yeah. Well, as always, you don't have to pay the ACA number, which is good, right? And you said there's quite a bit of reserve. In the past, they've done a free,
Right now, we're about 2.5 times our reserve.
so,
So it just that, the consultants always want to be very conservative, i.e. raise rates. And I spoke with I can't remember his name, the new Aaron at the school last week, and he's on the same page as I am.
Dr. Slaughter.
So that's 2 out of 6 votes.
Okay,
You're getting there.
yeah. Great,
All right, great, that's all we need. Thank you.
thanks for coming in.
Thanks for stopping by.
They're going to give us a bonus or something, but that's what they call us.
We're out of cookies, stop by tomorrow, the cookies will be back, so.
I want to skip over town meeting discussion. We'll do the council on aging budget, while we're doing budgets. Council on aging budget. We're doing budgets. What? We're gonna go back to it, we're gonna go back to it.
I was trying to get in.
Do we know the password?
There you go, now you got a team.
There you have it. Great, hi.
All right. Do we have your budget?
Hi.
Number 5.
Number 5. Cinco de Mayo.
It's kind of an aerial font, it's like about 10, 12 points.
All right, what do we got here? Fire away.
Okay, so I left salaries at the top blank for the requests because there hasn't been any decision on if there will be any cost of living or anything like that, step increases. I'll jump down quickly and just say expenses, utilities, and building maintenance were increased by 2.5%, just to keep up with increasing costs and things of that nature. I think the biggest change to the budget this year is the increase to the outreach line item. That is to, there's some significant concern that the grant that pays for that line is not going to be available. And so we have $10,000 of funding from Greater Springfield Senior Services that will run through September 30th. So for this year, for this fiscal '26, it would be a $7,500 increase to that line to maintain that position at a full-time position. The word that I got from the funding source is that it is strongly recommended to seek alternate funding for essential salaries. So they haven't said that it is completely going away, but last year we lost $4,600 from it.
They're hinting at it.
This year, they're saying we strongly recommend that you seek alternate funding. And so my concern is that if I don't put it in the budget, we go forward, then we're without the money. And then we have to go back and request it later on.
So you're getting 10,000 from senior, from,
Currently,
okay,
Title IIIB.
and that's guaranteed for FY
It's
'26?
guaranteed right now, and they have a federal fiscal year, so it goes through the end of September.
Oh, yeah, okay,
So
okay.
going into the next fiscal year, it's already funded for July, August, and September. So it wouldn't be a full, the full $10,000 wouldn't need to be added into the FY '26 budget. We'd be looking at that in the FY '27 budget.
You said this is a federal grant?
So there is some federal dollar in there, yes.
From what department?
Well, so it comes from the feds at the Older Americans Act level, and then siphons down to all
No,
of
I'm
the
just concerned about
area
hearing all the stuff about
agent, the
grants being.
freezes on the, yeah.
Right, yeah,
So what they've also said is that the Older Americans Act hasn't been reauthorized yet. And what they're showing, if it gets reauthorized, which we're hoping that it does, what they're showing is that they're holding funding levels at fiscal '23 rates. So even if they were still going to offer some grant funding, it's definitely sounding like it's going to be low to no funds. And they won't come out with any of that until May at the earliest. And so by then, our budgets are already done, and we've been to town meeting, and
Right. The other part, Becky, when you mentioned SNAP and just all the conversation going on about funding different assistance programs, is that an area of concern, or?
we haven't received any word that SNAP is at risk at this point. So hopefully that will continue. And the formula grant, that's the other grant that we utilize to pay the program coordinator position. We received word today that there should not be any implication to that grant going forward. So it's only the Title III funding, and so that's why the outreach line item now says 37.5 hours as opposed to the random 29.92 number that is in there.
How come we don't have program coordinator for hours or anything? If you said there's a grant for it, but,
So it's never been included in this budget because it's formula grant
yeah,
funded. So it's never
never there.
We
We
don't have to
don't have to
appropriate
appropriate it.
to there, yeah. The position is vacant right now, so that's something else that I wanted to talk about too. So the program coordinator left, and it was a really good time to reorganize positions at the center. And so the program coordinator responsibilities are going to flip over to become program coordinator, volunteer coordinator, with someone that we already have on staff. And then I would like to create a media, marketing, advertising, social media, someone to do our newsletter, so more of a print, publicity, that kind of a position to use the formula grant for. And I think that is a nice way to round out the staff.
So what does that mean in terms of these?
It doesn't mean anything for the budget, I'm just telling you that I'm reorganizing positions at the senior center, so I'll be submitting a job description for review, and again, it won't impact the budget at all, because that will be paid through the formula grant, and there's no, we don't have any ramifications that budget is, that those funds are going away.
Okay, if by some stroke of luck, that grant comes through, and we do get outreach money, would you be comfortable with the town just saying, okay, we're gonna fund, we're gonna use that money to fund part of it, and there'll be free cash left over? Or,
So we could do that, and that's, that's definitely something that we can talk about. The other thing that putting it, onto the town, taking it off of the grant twofold, so we could use grant funding for another program. What's happening with Title III funds is that they're trying to steer away from funding salaried positions into funding programmatic things. So that has been the focus. That's why we lost $4,600 last year, because they're turning things to the programmatic side. So we could apply for programmatic funds instead, if we pull it out of complete salary, if they even allow us to do it for salary. It will also take away, it's not a heavy lift, but there is a reporting aspect to that grant that the outreach coordinator is responsible for. So having those few extra hours a month to have to not do reports and things like that would also be.
and the 37 and a half hours is fully filled. There is, I'm sure that position could work 40 hours if it was available.
Or more.
Just like yourself, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure knowing the staff, they're leaving time on the table that the town's not paying for, because you don't walk away from people.
Right.
Right.
Is there an issue with Tri-Town trolley? Did they have is there a grant there or something? I don't know if you know.
Is that through Sandra?
Oh, Tri-Town. So Tri-Town is partially funded through PVTA, yes, and they were also receiving some funds through SIG grant, Service Incentive Grant through the state, and that grant didn't come through for this past year. So I don't really know where that stands. I know Brian was meeting with.
Do you know if they're gonna apply for that grant again?
I would hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was East Long Meadow, right? East Long Meadow is the one who,
East Long Meadow administers the trolley, yeah.
The only issue I have with them, they still have one trolley, that just says two-town trolley on it. They haven't changed the tri, and that's,
But we were the
years.
second town. We were the second town. Long Meadow was the tri-town, so.
Sure, we were there when they got that new nice trolley 6 years ago, 8 years ago? It was a while.
Yeah, it started in 2012, I believe.
What about the building needs? What are they thinking? Oh, we're meeting tomorrow, but.
Yeah, they'll have an update tomorrow. I think right now, the primary focus is trying to get higher toilets in the bathrooms. It's an issue. They're low to the ground. So I have a plumber coming in to give us a quote on what that will look like, and that would really just be replacing the toilets. No expansion, no touching of
And the
anything.
windows?
ADA. We're also gonna have somebody come out to look at some of the windows. The building has settled, and so
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
off
yeah.
kilter a little bit, so if they can be repaired, great, but some of them may need to be replaced. So we're gonna have a professional come out and just take a look and give us a number on what that might look like.
Our house is settled too.
Yeah.
I just buy her an extra sweater.
Well, good. Yeah, that's good.
That clear tape is a nice touch.
The duct tape around the house is.
Air conditioning units and things like that, so.
All right, anything else?
I don't think so, I think that's it.
See you all tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yep, right.
Oh, hey,
under permit.
here.
One-day liquor permits?
Yes, please.
Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah.
I put it after.
Are you signing on the
This
art
isn't
show?
it, this isn't it.
Art show?
I don't know, you asked for a one-day permit.
There's 4 of them.
I'm planning ahead, planning our activities.
Is it this one here?
No, that's
Adam.
the cookie place on Cookie Fairy.
I'm not the cookie fairy. Probably not me.
Your liquor licenses, you need February 8th and 9th, art show.
Art show?
Yes,
February 27th, and then April 30th.
you're in Don's folder.
April 3rd.
They're in your folder.
February 27th.
What?
What's that?
They're in your folder.
Oh, learning, interactive learning through art. That's an evening art program. And then the 30th is
Oh, yeah.
adults, yeah. And then the 30th is a meet and greet.
Make a motion to authorize the 4 liquor licenses requested by the senior center for February 8th, February 9th, February 27th, and April 30th.
Second. Second.
That's very nice. Any discussion?
It's wine, and sometimes wine and beer.
Really?
No samples?
Wine tasting.
All in favor? All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll sign these as we go along here.
Thank you very much.
What else we got here? Conservation Commission, we did the quarterly financial. Council on Aging budget. How about the water district connection policy?
Is there anybody else here for town meeting? I heard Rick wasn't coming, so is there anybody besides, because we're keeping Eva for that.
Okay,
Can we do that? Or-
okay, we're gonna do Eva first, John. Yeah, we are.
Let me just ask this then. We got that nice email from
Rick?
Rick. Can we consider that and maybe invite him to the next meeting?
Yeah, all right,
So
all
we'll
right,
just pass on that.
all right.
All right.
Good.
I have a
Did
couple.
you get a copy of Rick's email?
I got one.
Okay, so we're gonna consider
Brian?
that and maybe talk, he can come next meeting.
So you're not gonna discuss town meeting?
Yeah, I thought that was a good.
Brian has a
I have
question.
two things. One is AV and electronic voting. If we want to use the same AV people, they're asking for us to confirm the date and commit to doing it. And the same with the electronic voting. If we want to do it, we're going to have to reserve it. We're going to have to reserve the system, and I'll need to know how many clickers we want.
Okay,
Sooner the better.
I'm a yes on the AV and reserve it. The clicker I want to talk about, and I think that needs to be Rick here as well.
Agreed.
How are we gonna pay for it?
That was my next question.
I mean, that AV was just too good not to find a
Yeah, I know.
funding. You talked, how about that IT grant? I know you want to use some for the school, but
I'll see if they do.
All right, so we're gonna.
Service thing,
All right,
yeah.
so we're all agreed on the AV, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
you mentioned a potential discount if we booked both as well, right?
Yeah, I'll talk to them about that.
well, we probably should, right?
Yes.
And then we can put money in the budget. We can maybe put it under, increase selectmen's expenses or some election expenses or something like that for, you know, for the AV equipment for the town meeting.
Okay. I can write through it.
All right, good, we're good?
Yep.
That's it. We're all set, Eva, thank you for
Thank you,
hanging
Eva.
around.
Okay.
Hi, John.
All right, what do we got?
I know John's here. Where's Tad?
Town meeting, session, water district connection policy.
Yep. So in your packet, John and I had conversations, and I had written up considerations that we want to talk about, hopefully get consensus on between the board and the water commissioners. And it really just will define the scope of and the terms of who's going to be connected and what are the, I don't want to say repercussions, but what happens if someone elects not to be connected at this point in time? So there's really four, I don't know if I sent this out later, you want to see this one? Let's see here.
I sent it a couple of
Oh,
times.
I got an extra one. So there's really four things here. One is who's eligible for the connections, right? And again, this is at no cost. And the proposal here is that it's those properties identified by Mass DEP as impacted or likely to be impacted by PFAS contamination from the former landfill. In practical terms, this means those properties participating in the testing program or that were invited to participate in the testing program. So that's the proposed group of properties that that the town or the water district would connect at no cost. 2 talks about a deadline to connect. This just says that the water commissioners, after the February 12th informational meeting, again, water informational meeting, February 12th, 2025, 7 PM to 8:30 PM, right, at the townhouse. Invitations have gone out to those properties who are eligible. If you think you're eligible and you didn't get a letter, reach out to John or I. So this just talks about setting a deadline that property owners will have to give us a decision, yea or nay, to connect by. And the reason we need a deadline is because we need to arrange for the contractor to schedule the service line connections. 3 talks about refusal to connect. And this is something I wanted to check with the select board about. So this says right now that there's been no decision that requires property owners to connect at this point. It mentions that obviously the Board of Health reserves the right to change its mind and require people to connect if, essentially, if there's a public health risk to property owners. So that means that property owners have a right to refuse or not participate in getting connected to the water system. But again, there has to be some, people need to have, there needs to be informed consent not to connect. They need to know what the repercussions are of not connecting. And that's number 4 here, A, B, and C. A talks about the Scantic Valley Water District will install a curb stop on the water main in the public right-of-way in front of the property. So again, these are for property owners who don't want to connect. So curb stop on the water main, pretty simple. You do it while you're installing the water main, the ground's open, it's simple. Put it in there for a future connection. B talks about that the Scantic Valley Water District will not install a service line on private property for potential future use. So we have had this question come up, and it's in, the request was along the lines of, well, can you run the service line essentially, can you run the service line from the street all the way into my property, almost to my house, and then cap it? But I'm not gonna connect. And this is saying that will not happen in this case. The justification for the town paying for that service line cost at the other end is that it would be relieved of testing costs once there's no more, once that private well is not used for drinking water. So there's really no benefit to the town at this point of doing that from that point of view. And then C talks about, and I think this one should be up for discussion, it's written as the Town of Hampden and the Scantic Valley Water District will not pay for the future installation of service lines on, private properties unless a property owner can prove that their private well water is contaminated with PFAS above the then existing allowable concentrations and prove that the Town of Hampden is liable for the contamination. This is meant to address a situation where, let's say a property owner elects not to connect during this project, and then let's say something happens with their well. I don't know if the well goes dry or something happens. There's an expensive repair to the well, and they say, forget it, we're just gonna connect to the water line, and the town should have to pay for it. So that's what we're trying to avoid in this situation. So it doesn't need to be written this way. It doesn't need to be written this way. It could also be written that the town will not pay for those future costs, and whatever sort of discussions, conversations, legal discussions might happen after that. It could be what it is, and deal with it at that time.
So the whole reason we were offering the services to these homes was because the DEP was telling us that these homes were affected from contamination, and they were pushing for the option for us to provide them with the clean drinking water.
Or potentially affected, some of these homes.
Or potentially, yeah, some of these homes aren't affected, but they could potentially be, but the DEP was still requiring testing. So in order to, one, resolve the testing costs and help eliminate those costs and any potential future contamination issues, it was recommended by DEP that all the homes hook up. I understand that there may be people that don't want to hook up, but if we're offering it now and they choose not to, I believe that the onus should fall on the homeowner who doesn't want to hook up. And I thought when we were talking with DEP, they said we could write a legal document that would absolve or resolve whatever the town of any liability if the homeowner chose not to hook up.
Well, the thing is that, like you said, are we gonna be responsible for the testing fees going forward? Or people don't wanna hook up, but they're in the zone that we
Right.
find, now we're stuck testing them.
The DEP said they don't care who tests as long as the testing is done.
Right, so
So
can
my-
we put the onus for paying the testing on the landowner who refused the town water supply?
I believe that was a yes from DEP. Because we're offering a solution
Right,
to the problem or potential problem. And if the solution is being refused for whatever reason, that's well within their right. But the town shouldn't then be liable for any testing costs that are incurred after that.
right.
That's my opinion.
I think this is good, I mean, 4C is the one that caught my eye,
Right.
but I think it's the right call. It might be the one that you get the most feedback on, or pushback, but you have to draw a line somewhere.
I think it needs
Here's
to
the
be,
opportunity.
I think C needs to be more strict to remove the testing costs from the town if the
Right,
resident doesn't want to hook up.
maybe that's the part, that's D that has to be added as well,
Right.
yeah.
Well, future years, let's say next year, they decide they want to hook up. That's not a budgeted item anymore.
No, that would fall on them, in the way I would see
The
it.
town, it's not paid for.
Right, we were budgeted now through the whole bill to connect all the homes. We have the funding source now available to connect all homes. So if we come in less than that because homes didn't want to connect, then those funds aren't available down the road.
You might see, though, that, like I said, if they pay a year of testing fees, they may say, oh my gosh, I can cut that in half, I'll just connect. I'm not gonna pay the testing fees anymore. And the number to connect, which is just from the road to maybe the current well and pick up that line, is a lot less than paying the quarterly testing charge.
And I'm not sure if that's something Rose might have to write and draft.
But
Legal counsel probably have to write something
I think definitely,
and
yeah.
draft that verbiage, however that was worded.
Yeah, I think I think that's where we'll get the most pushback, is a situation like that where the property owner will argue that, that the town is ultimately liable for the harm, for the contamination. The town will argue, we're seeking to resolve the harm that we've caused you, and you're electing not to accept our remedy.
Right.
So therefore, how does that play out?
Okay, but again, the one, and we know of a couple locations, and that location can't show any harm, because they came back with an ND, I believe, on the testing. So any argument saying, well, you need to resolve the harm, the only reason you're here is because they drew that map.
Larger.
Larger than they needed to, right. So you'd have a hard time proving that the town is not doing a good job to relieve you of any harm.
Correct.
Right. Anyway, I think this is a good way going forward. How's the project?
We're gonna be starting in March.
It's starting at the pump house first, basically?
Well, they're going two ways. They want to put in the pipes in the ground, but they cannot activate the system until the pumping station.
That's what I mean, the pumping station's your priority, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Then you can find that pipe underneath the river, that'd be good too.
I disagree with their assessment that it was the town's responsibility to find
I
it.
do too, it was just amazing, that meeting one would like, what about the water pipe? There's a water pipe? 40 engineers on a call, and they had no idea.
It's got to be down deep because it's all plastics, not iron, so,
And that's a 4-inch pipe, right?
yes, it is.
And that's gonna be enough, I know it was brought up before, but you said, the engineers have said, that 4-inch main is gonna still be enough to satisfy the 20-plus homes on the east side of the brook.
As long as no fire services that are involved. Fire hydrants.
Well, they won't
Fire
hook up,
department can't tap into it.
they can't tap into it, and
Correct.
like we marked the ones on this side, and they are aware of that, yeah. That's strictly for purging.
Purging, correct. And the wells are capable of put out quite a bit of water, so that's not a problem. It's always concerned me about being assured that they have high capacity.
How much water do the tanks, are the new tanks gonna hold?
3,500 gallons each. Starting with 2 and possibly accommodations for the third one if need be. And it's gonna be a far superior system what we have now. It's not gonna blow out of the ground when a steel tank gives away.
So I think it's important that we answer Craig's question before the 12th, because people are probably gonna be wondering, it's gonna figure into their calculation as to whether they're gonna wanna hook up or not.
We gotta give them a definitive answer.
Or the town at least needs to take a position on it. Is there any appetite for taking a position on it before the 12th, or do we want to wait?
I think the position as stated here, is, this is what we're handing out and the way it's going.
Gotta run it legal first.
But you're talking about adding D,
Adding D,
right?
yeah, a hold harmless.
Right. Yeah, this is fine, if
Yeah.
we can add D,
Can you restate it for me, or try to state it for me?
It was pretty much that, the hold harmless agreement that, the landowner would be responsible for any testing as required by the DEP that the town is trying to eliminate by connecting the homes to the new clean water source. The town is trying to remedy the problem or potential problem while also reducing the costs, the annual operating costs.
Question. Would the landowners be signing something to say that they no longer hold the town responsible for future testing?
They would have to,
I would think that that would help a lot.
yeah. That would have to be the legal document from council.
Yeah, in that situation. But the people who'd be signing it would be those people who are refusing to connect.
Yeah,
So they might not sign an agreement that says that they will be liable. You know what I mean? They might not be willing to sign that hold harmless agreement,
right.
because it really wouldn't be in their best interest to agree to that. They would say,
Right, do we know if any of the homes refusing it or not interested in hooking up
yes.
have contamination?
We know one house that's not interested in hooking up, who does not have contamination.
I would say if there's houses that showing positive contamination, then that would be a Board of Health matter where we could deem that as a necessary step. But if the homes don't have contamination, then there's really
Pencils are the way to go.
no proof that there's any town resulted issue. So I would hope the DEP would resolve that.
So that's kind of another question about your meeting on the 12th. Are we taking questions, or are we just basically presenting, this is the way it is? Or this is the way it is, we'll answer your questions?
It's kind of an open meeting.
But when you say open with the possibility that you all will have some changes to it, or?
Oh, in that sense. My hope is that this is what it is.
Presented it, this is it.
Yeah. Or we could say something simple, as the town will not be liable for future costs for those who decide not to hook up.
I think that's simple there, but then we're still leaving ourselves on the hook for testing.
Yeah, we've talked to everybody. Do we still have the problem with that one location on South Munson where we've never talked to them or not?
Yep. We found out one of the properties is owned by somebody in California.
Our water's better right now?
We have one.
We can't make the pipe go that far.
No.
It's a little smoky, but
So there's one home we can't get a hold of anybody from?
they have not been able to get, to go into,
Taxes are paid.
the testing service can't,
Station went to the same.
The testing service can't even get in there?
yeah, they don't respond
No.
Is this one of the expanded homes?
on South Munson Road.
It's not that far up. No, is it 21? I think it is. Yeah.
So is this one of the ones if DEP can't even get in contact with?
I think at that meeting, I think even Dan tried going up there, that first meeting, remember? Knocking on the door. No. Had no luck.
That might be another question for DEP, like,
Well, that was my next question. We want these people to acknowledge in writing, okay, we accept your plan.
right,
What about the people we can't get, either come to the meeting or
right.
you need to, here's it, either accept or don't accept or whichever.
I would push back on DEP and say, hey, we're doing our best.
Right.
You need to step in
Right.
and, or,
We've got to be a
Walk away from it.
bilateral,
Yeah.
thing here, yeah.
All right, you gonna go with this? Plus the D if you can get something in it?
So something on the lines of the town will not be liable for future costs for those property owners refusing to connect to the system.
yeah. I don't know if you want to think about testing in there too, because, the quarterly testing or annual testing, or however DEP is going to work it.
They weren't very flexible there. Because we had asked the question.
Well, I remember in our meeting, they told us that they don't care who paid for the testing, as long as it was getting done.
We asked the question, if for 2 years, this particular resident has not had any hits at all,
Right. Yeah,
we still have to continue testing at that cycle.
right.
They said, yes.
Yep.
'Cause I see this definitely with the one that I know it doesn't want to hook up. Yeah, I can see issues on the horizon with going to them and saying, okay, now you need to pay these testing costs with Mass DEP. I see that as a legal fight, a legal battle.
It will be.
But
And I get it too, it's not, I'd rather just DEP be like, hey, they're choosing not to hook up. End of story, we're done.
presumably they could refuse testing.
Right.
They could just say, well, we're done testing, you can't have access to our property, and then presumably that's one of their ways out, would be, okay, you can't test anymore.
Yeah, it's proper property.
Yeah,
Ready?
but we don't need to argue for them, so it's all recorded on tape for them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, John. Thank you for your
Thanks,
work.
Thank you.
Quite welcome.
Budget,
We should have one.
budget review, we should have one.
Quick thing here. Brian, I thought your number was fixed for next year.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
not the same as 23, but it's fixed.
What?
What?
No, I'm saying these are, couldn't we have filled it in for the 26 number?
Yeah. We can.
All right, what is it?
What do we have?
That's it.
So selectmen, okay,
We don't know what the COLA is for the others. I mean, manager, the question there, Don, is, do we want more anticipating TWB?
under the facilities management?
Yeah.
Yeah, my question there was, if we're gonna, is the Board of Health coordinator gonna be full or part-time? And then do you take some of that money and put it for facilities management?
Right.
So we got to decide that, all right? And the property and liability, I mean,
Send out quote. ask
we
for
gotta get a
quotes.
quote, we gotta find out what that is. And
Yeah.
is it gonna change because of TWV, and then you have might have a vacant building, but that might not be until 2027, right?
Good point. Do we pay the insurance on that building, or the school just,
The school district's paying the insurance on the building until July 1st.
they have been paying, it, so that's definitely an increase right there.
Right.
Right.
Yep. And then we'll have to programmatically, we'll have to have both of these buildings occupied,
Right,
so
occupied,
that they're not vacant.
yeah.
Whether it needs to have a scheduled
But I'm
occupancy.
thinking for next year, 26 will both be occupied. By the time we get everything squared away, people moving and all that stuff, they'll both be
It's
occupied.
when they become vacant that it
Right.
becomes problematic.
What is insurance longevity? If that,
I don't know what that is.
and your question about longevity, we've gotten rid of everybody's retired who got
It
it
says
before.
expend, that's my point, it says expended this year, 5,600.
Let me go back to Cliff's thing here, I don't even think it's on his recap sheet.
It sounds like that have been the retirement of the highway employee. That happened this year?
We got rid of that, we worked it into contracts,
Right,
yeah. I think the last person claiming it was probably Kathy over at the police station
Police station.
when she retired, yeah.
Was it in the highway contract?
I don't think.
Well, even if it's in the it wouldn't be brought out separately. I don't even see it listed here as, what is it called?
Right, insurance, law, yeah.
9, 10. Longevity.
Under longevity on page 4.
Let's say we spent 5,600 this year, we appropriated 0,
Say what it's-
spent 56, might be one to look into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Might be missed.
so we're gonna look into that
We
longevity,
appropriated 0 just because, like Don said, we had nobody left in the program.
right?
Why we spent 56, I think it's just an error in sheet or something like that.
Long claim is pretty much the same, right? Selectmen expense.
We need town meeting.
We're halfway through the year and we're halfway through the number, and it's,
Should we add a line on for that, Brian? For the
Yeah.
video and audio?
I mean, that audio, if you're doing it twice a year, it's gonna be 16,000 probably.
yeah.
So we gotta put that in someplace. Right?
Yeah.
Selectmen expenses, like what temporary help, town report. All right, stormwater, do we get anything time? Well, usually they send something along. Tell you about it.
Check, why don't we ask Gary tomorrow? Check with him, he's been the guy chatting on. Don will probably be here also.
Veteran services, 20,000, Academy Hall,
Yeah.
transfer station, that's the testing.
Well, Academy Hall, this is definitely not correct. Again, Mark and I went over, he sent his guys over to see if they could, get the windows closed. They couldn't get up to the second floor. You see some of the storms are open. There's got to be something wrong electrically over there. We're seeing a bill of $900 for last month. The heat is down to 50. Craig made a good point. Maybe there's a problem with the well and the well's running all the time or something. Well, we got to get a handle on that. Because that winter bill, I know it's not insulated, they didn't do that, but still.
Do we have a key for the second floor? Because
We thought we did, and Lauren has been through the box and can't find anything, but
so we need to get that rekeyed then. We need access to that for emergencies.
get a handle on that. Transfer, is that number gonna be good, Craig, you think?
Who knows?
Okay. I'm surprised, Don, that's not right. We zeroed that account, didn't we?
No,
School building.
Nope.
no, it passed last year, it was in there last year. She did after the town meeting.
Oh, that was the agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, now we can use it on TWB.
Exactly,
So we have 115 to spend.
Before next June,
yeah.
or next July.
No, we have 115 to spend now because,
This would be the 100 appropriation.
yeah.
You gotta spend the 15 now,
Right,
for
well, it's still
July.
school.
huh?
While it's still at school,
Yeah.
guys find it
Okay.
before June 30.
Page 3, we got,
Acquisition part, that's, I asked that question, I think, to Jane and Lauren. Brian, I thought Entree came in with a plan last year, they do with their typical replace. Where are we at this point? Last year, if you remember, I think, Craig, they even overspent that line, by a couple thousand even.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at infotech too, and I'm like, I thought we were right up on the wall on that too.
Yeah, yeah. So where are they with their plan? And again, how's that gonna affect when we ship everything over to, I know you had a meeting, Scott Thomas was helping out, talk about switches and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is our website number still good with the new upgrade?
Including,
I'll double check. I think so.
really, including the, all that talk they had about the, it wasn't audio eye, but whatever the,
That's the thing I need to double check on.
and just to mention it for ha-has, Lauren, anything from the state,
Anything from the state?
disability?
Have not heard back.
Sheesh. And we're gonna be the bad guys, Don, you know? Even though we got hundreds of records showing we're calling them.
Under website infotech and stuff, when does our contract expire for Laserfish?
Is that all a grant? That's still a grant though, right?
I don't want to renew it, is my point.
Oh, I know, but I've heard they actually are doing some work, and Dick's been scanning quite a bit, and so, which is on the cloud, the Laserfish cloud, do we have enough storage with all that large stuff they're scanning? So if we don't renew it, where's it gonna go?
It's no different than OneDrive we were using that.
No, I'm saying, but if we don't renew it, do we have rights to the stuff that's up on the cloud?
No, our subscription would end and nothing would be there anymore. We wouldn't have access to it. Have to migrate it.
Yeah, currently it was paid from a digitizing grant,
Right,
but that's gonna expire March.
right, then I remember it being,
I am
7.
concerned about the utilities. I mean, I'm seeing online people calling about the
5.
large gas increase.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But also on custodial maintenance and utility, I mean, are we gonna, we gotta combine that some way into TWB.
Right. Well, I don't think the outfit we have now is capable of doing that building.
No, I don't think so either, so we gotta figure out what we're gonna do there. We're gonna hire someone or do, you know, so that's that one there. Wildlife control, that was the beaver thing.
Yeah, I'm impressed with street lighting, but I mean, it is always worse in the winter, but still, that's a good number.
Emergency management.
Traffic control, again, with the projects, we don't know what Mark's projects are this year, so.
Now, is that shared health service, is that the,
Yeah, I talked to Finn about that. He thinks the number's still gonna be good,
okay,
but he's just staying on top of it. Again, they haven't hired that replacement person yet,
right,
so they're saving a lot of money in the salary line right now.
okay. All right, water district testing, now that's different, right?
That's different, yeah.
that's just a normal operating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ambulance, you gotta do the contract with them. 150th anniversary.
Yeah, so did we declare that so we can put it in the budget and save it? Remember, Don? That was the
Yeah, we
question.
did.
No, I mean, so it's here in the budget, but not required to be expended. We had to like do
It's a
something.
warrant article.
Right, but now it's a budget line.
Yeah, we don't want a budget line.
No, but there was a way that we could declare it something so you could put money in the budget every year and let it accumulate. If we, Brian, you talked about that. There was some, we declare it some type of event thing that would allow you to do a rolling accumulation,
I think there's an anniversary celebrations account or
something like that, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think currently there's been warrant articles, special articles, so
Two.
they go over.
Right.
Transfer station, how we doing there?
Enterprise Fund is holding its own, but, you know, we're in good shape with bags. We don't think we're gonna need them next year. Talked about the possibility that we're gonna have to modify the lease a bit. The original lease came down to, we're familiar with the slope on Cross Road, it comes down there.
Yeah,
The lease showed the fence going there. Conversation with DEP, they really didn't want the fence there because it's too close to the cap. So they moved the fence out, but that's technically a few feet away from the leased area. I don't know why we just didn't lease the whole property. Why we drew a map inside it? I mean, what are we doing with besides that?
Nothing on the lease.
We should have just gone to the borders. But either way, that's got to be taken care of. They just need to, it does cross the wetland buffer, they need approval from Concom, and obviously DEP's already approved it, because they're the one told them to do it.
Okay, then we gotta get the county retirement. The regional dispatch is gonna be about 93,000, because that's the end of the contract there, this grant. And the highway negotiations. And gotta figure out moving expenses for TWB where we are there. All right, so we'll continue that on the budget continue that on the agenda for. All right, we got the Hampden-Wilbraham Regional Draft Regional Agreement. I would say we just discussed that. We ready to discuss that Wednesday night?
Yeah, because they just modified this
They just
afternoon.
modified it again,
It's
so.
an email coming from John, and it's
Yeah.
changed again, so.
So we'll talk about that Wednesday night with the,
Decided on the font, and that's about it.
okay. That's because they're involved with DESI and they just, All right, select board members' reports?
Obviously, a busy week for most of the boards in town. I want to thank, for next week, the planning board is going to move their meeting to the Melville Room, so the upstairs is available for the water district hearing. Assuming we're going to get probably, gosh, Craig, I would think, if everyone comes, you're talking, 30 to 50 people in here.
Maybe.
Yeah, hopefully. No, you want them all here, so we need the big room.
So we got building meeting tomorrow. Tomorrow night is a roundtable.
It's kind of a square table, but all right, fine.
Wednesday, master plan committee at 9 o'clock. Wednesday night is Hampden and Wilbraham Regional School District to talk about the amendments to the. What do you got?
I got nothing to report.
PA report?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, present. Last week we had a call with Charter Spectrum, first call, negotiation call about the cable license agreement, and we're asking for 2 upfront capital payments. Call went pretty well. We're waiting for a counter proposal or acceptance from Charter. Let's see, what else? The IT grant that we were talking about, again, I had a meeting at the TWB with Scott Thomas, and he's going to provide really a scope of work of what needs to be done that we can submit for the grant. That grant is due on the 6th, so it's due the end of this week. Submitted the casino grant for outdoor recreation marketing, AKA Hike Hampden. That was submitted on Friday. Red E charging revenue for December was $337. That's gross revenue. That's not net revenue, because I still don't think they have a meter. So maybe we'll call it net revenue, because net out 0, but.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? Website. Unfortunately, the existing website is currently down. There was a premature move to the new website that happened through or with whatever GoDaddy does. I don't know what their proper thing is, DNS hosting or whatever it's called. I don't understand how all that works, but it's currently down. Hopefully we back up shortly. The new launch date for the website will be, the new website should be February 12th. That has taken up a large chunk of our time with the website training, and I was a little disappointed with how everything was ported over. It's taken a lot of time to try to get things up to how we want them. But Lauren and I keep plugging away at that. But in the end, I think it will be a very good switch. I think that's about it. We'll go with that.
Anything else to come before the board?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye, aye.
And